There are two main delineations for public and private people. You see people make their own tags and put for private use, household goods. Did you know you didn't even have to do all that? You didn't have to put a red flag in yourself, risk being stopped every block, every city that you go to. See, the art of war lets you know that you have to camouflage yourself with your terrain. And they, knowing this, provided you the remedy. There's a form within your Secretary of State that lets you put the status of that property specifically under the condition that you enter into it as a secure party, as a private good, and not for commercial. Did you know that? Why isn't anyone talking about this? All right, let's get to the meat of things without dabbling around too much. This is the question a lot of people have been asking. How do you put your car in a trust? And how do you protect yourself with a trust? There are several questions you should ask yourself before, during, and after. What purpose would putting this in a trust serve for? Is it going to stop your car, or the likelihood of your car being, yeah, I know the term automobile vehicle, let's just put all that formality to the side. But let's just use the blanket term as though we're speaking to someone who doesn't know the different terminology and all that. So let's just use that blanket term for the purpose of the conversation, so that the message can be transferred effectively without being too technical with it. We're going to speak with each other on the most basic level so that even the newbie can actually figure this out and get it done. What is knowledge without functionality, right? So the question you have to ask yourself is, when you get that new car, do you want to protect it from being towed? Because every time they tow that vehicle, they fill out 1099 forms. The municipal police department, the towing department, the city, and the... What is a security agreement? Security agreement means an agreement that creates or provides for security interest. In a basic contract, you now have interest in something of monetary value. That's what security means, in case you're curious. A person in whose favor a security interest is created or provided for under security agreement. So this is a binding contract that shows your standing and capacity to begin to do certain things on a commercial level. All crimes are commercial, right? Well, you got to step into the contract initially properly, because this is the contract. You will have no need to run away from DMV or cops if you're entering into contract properly. So let's go into it. Whether or not any obligation to be secured is outstanding. A person that holds an agricultural lien, okay. Remember we were talking about financial statement? A lot of people talking about agricultural lien, right? Doing a straw man this, straw man that. That's not the way you do that. You actually funnel that lien that you're doing into each independent contract. You don't do a generalized UCC financing statement and expect it to cover everything. No, because that ins legis is not your property. And the social security number being an insurance policy for that thing, somebody created it, not you. They tricked you to put your sweat equity, which is your labor through taxation, etc., because they didn't tell you, look, all you have to do is create another trust, separate it, and enter a different agreement. If you want to bring against legis, cool. If not, you can isolate it, and you can still be the secured party of a transaction, and then you can come back and link it to it if you want. But that's dealing with the CAFR account and monetizing this security interest called the certificate of title. But we're not even there yet. We're moving ahead of ourselves here. A co-signer. Oh, okay. A person to which account, chattel paper, certificate of title, same thing. Accounts. I wonder what. It then goes on to expound on who a secure party is. Remember, you're coming through a trust, an express trust, to be precise, because that is the only type of entity that has a standing the capacity to do certain things on the level that we're going to be speaking of. A trustee, indentured trustee, meaning someone you hired for the specific purpose of entering into that security agreement. An agent, same thing. Collateral agent, meaning it can be through being a first lien holder. We see here, first lien holder, name and address, the trust. See how nothing is isolated? Or anyone who's the security agreement is in favor of. And then the last one is a person that holds a security interest arising under these sections. 2-401-505-711. Passing of title, reservation for security, limited application for the section. Passing of title is what you're doing every time you get that thing from the previous owner, the certificate of title from the previous owner, and you put it in yours. A lot of people don't know. They just do it however they want. They put in the ex-lega's name. Oh well, not entering into that contract right. Sell its shipment under reservation. This usually doesn't apply to a lot of people, unless we get into the other stages. And then it goes to other details, but let's not bore ourselves here. Let's cut straight to it. So now that we know what secure party, it says right here, new lien assignment. Secure party, that is a holder in due course. You know what it means for something to be due. And at any moment, you can make the demand, and whoever is on the other end that you're making demand of must respond. The course, like without recourse, without things coming back to you, the course is only you can determine the course it goes to based on what's due to you. So you want to layer those protections. So say someone has a nefarious intent, right? Which we could probably reasonably say that most state of do, because if you really look into what they do, it's criminal in nature. But you can't really blame them if people have entered into contract the wrong way. Then it abates them of liability of criminality. But if you begin to do what you want to do right, and they still want to pierce your trust, right? There's two layers, two different entities they have to go through. And when they start hitting this express trust, and guess what? Oh, by the way, see this right here, this signature of the Secretary of State? The Secretary. This is called a countersigning, a co-signing. Remember the secure party? This is how they make themselves a sharecropper to what you got. Here we are, the CP575. At some point, even if you just have an LLC, you've probably seen this. You're probably acclimated to this one way or the other. Look at this. Looks like your typical CP575, right? But take a closer look where it says number of this notice. CP575E. What does this E stand for? Can you guess what this E stands for? That's right, exempt. Yeah, that's right. These subtleties is what the representatives, because you have to remember, even though it might show on Patreon members and the list of numbers, there are still people who have access to these videos without being a Patreon members, and they work for the other side. And you don't want them to screw up your remedy and my remedy, because everyone is just spouting things out there. So the integrity of the information still has to be kept. But if you seek, you will find. And I'm going to show you the IRS manuals that delineates different type of CP575s. You should be able to take it from there. If you don't, it's cool. Get a consultation. I got you. But the important thing, meaning at that moment, based on how you fill out the SS form, if it shows on its face that no filing requirements are present, meaning you don't qualify for it that same date, then that means it's not going to be for the future. How you initiate the contract is what sets up the pace of how that contract will be enforced. The status of the entity which the CP 575 is being issued to determines what type of CP 575 is going to be issued to that entity based on how it is filled out at that moment. It's telling you. Some might say, well, it doesn't say exempt, but it just told you right there. This is where subtlety lies. And this is what we do. So there is the IRS manual that shows you the specific type of CP 575 that lets you know that there are two main delineations for public and private people. You see people make their own tags and put for private use, household goods. Did you know you didn't even have to do all that? You didn't have to put a red flag in yourself, risk being stopped every block, every city that you go to. See, the art of war lets you know that you have to camouflage yourself with your terrain. And they, knowing this, provided you the remedy. There's a form within your Secretary of State that lets you put the status of that property specifically under the condition that you enter into it as a secure party, as a private good, and not for commercial. Did you know that? Why isn't anyone talking about this? The complete 1 hour plus video has been posted on the Patreon page around November 2021. Take care. Best of luck.